Good evening and welcome to an absolutely picturesque Panther Field here at Spring Lake Park High School. John Haddon and J.W. Cox with you as we come live on North Metro TV for high school boys lacrosse, with Spring Lake Park hosting Blaine, two teams that have started their seasons differently and then switched it up recently. The Bengals won their first 4 games of the season, coming off a tough loss to Maple Grove. On the other side, Spring Lake Park started with 4 straight losses, but they just picked up their first win, and now they're looking for back-to-back as they host the Bengals here today. And when you talk about these two teams, you talk about two of the top scorers in the Northwest Suburban Conference. And we're going to start with John Hickey, a visiting squad for Blaine. He has been absolutely outstanding to start this season.
Yeah, the Bengals as a whole, John, have been fantastic scoring the ball here over their first 5 games. Obviously, they had their hiccup in their last, but they did what they had to do, and Hickey was a big reason for that, picking up 8 goals in the past week. So he has been absolutely lights out for this Bengal team, and they're going to need a lot more of that offense as the season continues.
Well, his team has had success along with his individual success on the other side. Drew Nelson has been the big, heavy hitter for the Spring Lake Park team, but it hasn't equated to as many wins as they like. That's not his fault. He's doing his damage offensively.
4 goals and 2 assists in their last win over Centennial, which is a big win. Centennial is a team that's right there in the middle of the pack. They're 3-2, trying to make a push at the top of the Northwest Suburban Conference. The Bengals beat up on some lower in the pack teams to start their season. They had that as a springboard. Now maybe beating a winning team for the Panthers is going to be their springboard to the rest of the season.
2 young men we mentioned combined for 74 goals a season ago. They're well on their way this season, and you get to see them coming up here on North Metro TV. Welcome back as the Blaine Bengals getting set to take on the Spring Lake Park Panthers as boys lacrosse on tap for you tonight here on North Metro TV. John Ed and J.W. Cox, glad to be back with you as we get you set for the start of this evening's game. They're going through the starters on the field right now as the Blaine Bengals coming in with their 4-1 record. Josh Swart is the head coach of this squad, and a great start to this season to begin 4-1 for a team that finished 5-11 last year. Had a nice playoff push at the end of the season after a real rough year, but they have carried that postseason run into a great early season start this year, JW.
And like any team, John, there's going to be changes in the team dynamic as you lose seniors, new guys try to step in, but you can't deny that anyone that was around that team that made the run to the section finals a year ago, that's going to have some sort of carryover, and you see that in winning their first 4 games, a loss to Maple Grove, who is at the top of the Northwest Suburban standings. But these Blaine Bengals, they have certainly turned a page with this program here for 2015.
You look at those starters there. Brady Kelly will sometimes start at midfield, and today he will be an attacker. That was a quick change. Weigland is one of the long sticks at midfield, and their goaltender is Jacob Weidmer. He kind of wrestled the job away from Blake Nystrom, who was the main starter a year ago. So some changes throughout the early part of this season for the Blaine Bengals to get them set as to what they want to accomplish, and they have done a great job of starting strong with that 4-1 record entering today's day, with the only loss being against a Maple Grove team, a very good Maple Grove team, 8-2 in a defensive battle. For Spring Lake Park, 1-4 to start the year under first-year head coach Vernon Letourneau. And you look at his starters there, including Max Peterson up off the JV team. The sophomore gets the start here today. Fellow junior in goal, so Nick Hudson gets the start for Spring Lake Park there. And, of course, we talked about Drew Nelson and his effectiveness offensively a year ago. Behind him, Zach Benson, the junior, probably the second best threat they had last season. He's trying to carry over, just like Nelson is, into the 2015 campaign. So those are your starters for the Spring Lake Park Panthers, who again are after their second consecutive victory after winning at Centennial 13-11, easily their highest scoring game. So either something clicked against Centennial, or as you mentioned before, they were playing a team that might be a little bit down this 2015 season, JW.
Yeah, the Cougars come out of that now 3-2 after the loss to the Panthers. Panthers, though, went into that game averaging just 5 goals per game in their first 4. So they certainly found some sort of rhythm. What the cause of that rhythm was, well, was that a one-game type rhythm, I should say. We'll find that out tonight with the way they come out against the Bengals, who certainly have scored very well, 51 goals overall this season and allowed just 24. They are in the top 3 in the conference in goals allowed. So they've also defended well over these first 5 games.
Their goal scoring has gone down as the season has gone on. They were in double figures their first 3 games, then won 7-1 against the Tino Grace before that 8-2 loss. So really held down by Maple Grove in that last game. The Bengals looking for a bounce-back game here today. And you look at the standings, there are those Maple Grove Crimson we were talking about, tied at the top with Armstrong. And Blaine taking a bit of a dip thanks to that one loss. Spring Lake Park, new to the Northwest Suburban Conference, down near the bottom along with Irondale, who also just made the move over along with Totino Grace. Those 3 moving in to make it a 14-team conference here in 2014-2015.
And you see some of those first 4 opponents for the Bengals in the bottom half of that standings. That's what I alluded to start the broadcast. The first 4 opponents, 6-13, the combined record the Bengals faced. Hey, they have to take advantage of where the schedule goes, but use that to your advantage and hopefully playing their best ball as they head into the tougher part of their schedule with some of those top teams.
There's a close-up look at the top scorer, not just on this field here today, but one of the best in the entire state. John Hickey has been outstanding this season. 18 goals, 13 assists. He and the rest of the Bengals will be wearing the baby blues today. And for Spring Lake Park, they've got the white tops and the royal blue shorts.
You talk about a guy who's turning it on at the right time. You're coming out of that early season stretch. He scored 8 of those goals that he's put in the back of the net over the last 3 games, as you saw.
Well, to have that 18 goals in just 5 games, very impressive. Again, he finished with 41 goals a season ago between the playoffs and the regular season, so his pace is even better this year. As the 2 teams take the field, you can see that Spring Lake Park will begin by going left to right. That's somewhat into the sun. They'll have to deal with it a little bit more, but that means their goaltender will as well on defense. On the face-off for Spring Lake Park is Daniel Klebeck, and he goes against Josh Huttonen. Opening face-off, won back by Blaine. The Bengals begin offensively, but we get a quick hit to start us off, and Spring Lake Park takes that ball right back. Klebeck has it, and he sets to head forward. Gets over midfield. Both teams making some early changes once the possession was established. Klebeck feeds it out ahead for Everts. Check that, Everts. And pass behind the net. Swing it around towards the top, controlled by Nick Robinson, who just ran on. Robinson looking for a lane, gets around a man, puts a pass out in front. Now a swing shot that goes just wide. Left hand of the goalie and squirts out of bounds. Spring Lake Park first team there, and they set it up again.
Good movement there by Starr. He had to bring his way around that far post and try and get that shot away. He did get the shot away, just a bit wide in traffic.
Klebeck finds the man underneath, trying to set it back to the top. They do so with Benson. Zach Benson has it raked away from behind. Nice defense there by Alec Larson. Larson, a very nice 2-way player, already 12 goals this season for Blaine. Now the Bengals get to set it up offensively. Larson from the top, goes long, down behind the goal. Bengals work it over to Hickey. And the man we've been talking about so far today, Hickey, starts out, comes back, and gives it up. Early passing from the big-time scorer. Controlled now by Tanner Jones. Leaves it out towards the top for Gerards. Ridge Gerards tried to pass it back out. Lost control for a moment, but Huttonen tracks it down. Now Josh Huttonen starting in. Will give it back, and they reset with Gerards. A little mishandle, but Alec Larson has some space if he can get there fast enough. As long as it didn't go over midfield, he was just fine there. Otherwise, it would have been an offsides for one of those defenders for Spring Lake Park to come and get that ball.
Much quicker attacking for the Panthers on the other end. Bengals being very patient in their first time with the ball.
And again, just a total of 10 goals scored in the last game that the Bengals played in. So patience is something they've exercised throughout the course of this season. Stutter step, and now Gerard starts a move in. He's pushed back by Robinson. Now left out to Huttonen. He stutter steps, gives it back to the point from there. Larson. Alec Larson whips it, tries to get a bounce in, but it goes wide and out of bounds. Possession stays with the Bengals. Here's Tanner Jones.
Neither team giving up much space. Both of the shots that we have seen under duress, and that's caused them to be a little off target.
Jones started towards the front, leaves it back. Now hesitation, and Hickey trying to get out front. A stick goes flying, so does the ball over the net. Possession maintained for the moment, and it is cleanly controlled by the Bengals. Tanner Jones once again gets to the front, has it ripped away, and the goaltender scoops. Hudson has it. Spring Lake Park with their second opportunity offensively. Goes with a long pass, and it's speared by Klebeck. With speed, he heads upfield, gets it to a man underneath. Quick passing, and then a mishandle right there, but a second opportunity. Goal! Spring Lake Park's Drew Nelson. We highlighted him as well, and he gets the first score of the day. Spring Lake Park jumps out to a 1-0 lead.
I just mentioned, John, there hadn't been any space, but you know you create space in this game. That's beat more players across midfield, leave a bunch behind you. That's exactly what Danny Klebeck was able to do. Plenty of speed for him, and then the rest was academic. They even had enough space for the drop by Nelson. Did a good job settling himself and finding the back of the net for, again, his 5th goal now in just a little over a game.
Yeah, Klebeck gets it over to Everts, and Everts does the right thing. He feeds it across, and Nelson, as you mentioned, had the extra time, even after a mishandle, to get it in. So let's credit the defense on the first couple of possessions, because they did an outstanding job of not allowing any real good shots, and certainly any shots that went in. But here with the transition game, a score happens. Blaine trying to answer back as Hutton takes it out of the faceoff circle, brings it up. He's tripped up, loses control of the ball, and trying to use speed again are the Panthers. Spring Lake Park on the run. Give it up underneath. Players racing in to join the fray as Everts controls. Everts leaves it back. Quick pass out front. Pushed back is Nelson. Nelson on the far side, faces up. Starts in, gives it off underneath. Looking for a cutter here, it looks like. Nothing develops, trying to go back the other way. Staria passes it off. And left back out to the point. Spring Lake Park working with a 1-0 lead. Under 8 minutes to go, first quarter. Ball dropped by Szyminski. And then taken the other way. Blaine controls. Up ahead, they find Evan Anderson. Here's Anderson breaking out to the far side. Gets it to Kennelly. Now back behind the net. Tanner Jones controls. Passing it off. Once more, this is Hickey. Hickey gets out to the front of the net. Uses some strength to get a close shot off, but it is off the mark. Trying those low post moves, looking to back his man down.
Good job by Hudson to stay tall. He filled up the entire length of that post.
Hickey with a nice feed, but it is bobbled in front, and the Blaine Bengals don't have nearly the time that Spring Lake Park did to recover. It's forced out of there, but recovered by the Bengals. Tristan Anderson has it. He hands off to Alec Larson, and they reset. Larson's in no hurry at this point. Starts his attack off a couple of screens towards the left side, puts a shot on, and it is cleanly picked up by the stick of the goaltender, Nick Hudson. I think that one was going wide, but he made sure that his team got possession by spearing it in the air. Long stick bringing it up, now a pass along the wing, far side. Controlled by Lizot. Joe Lizot finds Staria. Gives it up behind. And they rotate around. Drew Nelson had it. Nearly loses control in the battle. Fighting with him for it is Nathan Crowdle. Crowdle able to knock it away. It's scooped up by Aaron Treese on the move. Treese, long pass across. The defenseman trying to bring it up. Now it's Christensen. Gets himself across midfield. Players aware. As the pass gets ahead, they're going to slow down and set it up clean. Austin Johnson, the junior. Alec Larson just checked back in on the fly. Here's Johnson with the move, and he's pushed back, drops the ball. Now it's a race to get it back. Johnson doing battle with Zach Benson, and he has to go all the way back to midfield to collect it.
Benson very aggressive there with the initial check, and once he saw that the ball popped out of the stick of Johnson, he was just like a bulldog after it.
John Hickey gets it underneath once again, works in behind the net, hands it off, a mishandle, recovered for a moment. Tanner Jones still doesn't have clean control, finally gets it. Works around Hickey, tried to start back. He's got Hickey behind him, but doesn't look to pass it off yet. Finally, he'll set it up to the top. Johnson controls. With that, change of possession, giving Spring Lake Park control. And again, they are wasting no time getting it into the offensive end. Drew Nelson controls far side. Nelson passes that towards the point. Nick Robinson had it knocked away. Robinson now doing battle with Wigan. Wigan, the midfielder, hasn't really been able to get control of it, but he's making sure no one else does. Now a big scrum. Both teams involved, and it's finally picked up on the move by Austin Johnson. He takes it on the far wing. Still just a 1-0 game. First couple of lacrosse games we've done, boys or girls, have been fairly high scoring.
I think, Johnny, each of these teams, it's been fairly even in picking up those situations like we just saw, those loose balls, those 50-50 balls. Now they've been about 50-50 going each way, and that's kept us fairly even.
We haven't had a lot of shots. Teams have not felt confident in the looks that they're getting, so they keep waiting for something better to develop. Huttonen from the top. Now he leaves it back.
Your lone difference is the fast break chance for the Panthers that they were able to cash in on.
Here's Evan Anderson. Both teams have a little bit trouble handling the ball, especially Blaine, I would say. Anderson starts a move in. Now a shot from inside, and John Hickey equalizes. Hickey and Nelson, the names we highlighted coming into the day, and they each have one to tie us at 1.
Just a great first effort by the goalkeeper, Hudson, but he couldn't keep his footing. He slipped down on that artificial surface out there, and Hickey was on the doorstep, and just a rebound that he was able to put back in. Opportunistic there, a great initial save, but Hudson just couldn't swallow it up, and it leads to the first goal for the Bengals.
Great job to get to that rebound as quickly as he did, and now both goals, this one not a fast break goal, but came from the same sort of point-blank range as the Spring Lake Park goal. Now it's the Panthers who take the face-off. Panthers bringing it up far side. Slowing down is Gerards. Ball lost for a moment, now gathered back by Blaine. Blaine with speed. Gerards gets in, leaves it off underneath. It's through the stick of Jones and ends up behind the goal. Scooped up by Blaine, an opportunity. Hickey out of his reach, but he tracks it down. John Hickey towards the front of the net, off a stick for his teammate. No clean control here. Both teams have a couple of players battling for it, and it's grabbed once again by the Bengals. From the top, faking the long shot was Larson, trying to get in tighter after that feed from Jones. Larson now gives to Hickey. He starts in from closer, but his shot knocked down, looking to bounce it in, but it is stopped up by Hudson.
That's good stick work by Hudson. Great stick work on the outside, kind of the cross-checking motion for Zach Benson to make sure that it wasn't going to be a push inside with the feet of Alec Larson.
As Spring Lake Park was bringing it up there, a quick hold call, but the possession stays with the Panthers. They led 1-0 for a while, now knotted up with this visiting Blaine team at 1 apiece. Controlled by Drew Nelson. Leave it back out. Benson. Zach Benson back to Nelson, and he can't handle the pass. Maybe the day is too nice. The sun might be in these guys' eyes. We've had a lot of these drops.
It's going to stay up an awfully long time. We saw that in the girls' game. They didn't even have to turn the lights on here when we were here last week for girls' action between Centennial and Spring Lake Park.
Weather markedly better today as Hickey gets another shot off. This one goes wide, scooped up, and Blaine maintains possession. Just a gorgeous day here in Spring Lake Park and throughout the Twin Cities area as this ball bounces off of Hickey and goes out of bounds. With speed, able to get there, Spring Lake Park's Jeffrey Schmidt.
As you mentioned, we've had some high-scoring lacrosse matchups in the girls or boys of the first two that we've done, so I keep expecting either shoot a drop here and somebody to break wide open or both teams to break the scoring open, but John, I just don't see where that break is going to come. Both these teams have been pretty sound defensively and making sure that they're in spots to make it tough and methodical on the team with the ball on the offensive end.
Spring Lake Park finally gathers it up. They're back in their own end with control as Klebeck. Klebeck looking to get a pass off. It was a little bit rough, and it heads out of bounds, well out of the reach of the intended target, Staria. Possession over to the Blaine Bengals. Brandon Christensen bring it in. Christensen gets it in to the offensive end with a pass ahead to Austin Johnson. Johnson with less than a minute to go in the opening quarter. He hands it back out. Gerard's starting a run in. Gerard's towards his right, now peels back out. Leaves it up top to Evan Anderson. Anderson tries the left side, gets it to Hickey underneath. Hickey goes behind the net, pass out in front, good feed. The shot, though, goes wide. Quick attempt by Peyton Graff wasn't there. Now another attempt. This one stopped by the defenders. Great job on the push by Tanner Jones. He was pushed back by the defense. Go the other way. Spring Lake Park's pass out of the reach of the intended target. They were looking for Everts there, and instead it goes out of bounds.
How fast is Charles Davis? He just put on a clinic running through with that big defensive stick. You knew there was going to be an end to his run. He just obviously doesn't have the right stick to handle in front of the net, and his pass goes a little errant. But, man, did he change the field position quickly.
Well, Spring Lake Park has been the faster team so far today, especially when they have the ball. They get the juices going. The adrenaline kicks in as they move upfield. Blaine with the ball, 3 seconds left, looking for one last opportunity. Shot off, hit the post. Got a side of the side of the net and bounces off, no good. So we are knotted up at 1 after 1 quarter of play. See that one great scoring chance right at the end before the horn went off, as Blaine looked like they were going to wrap it around quickly. There it is.
And it's almost, John, that they had to be sped up by the clock themselves, as they've been very methodical throughout, but they had to be sped up that time with the clock winding down. You take a look at Johnson again, and that's exactly what you said, the speed. He's just leaving 2, 3, 4 Blaine defenders behind him. Finally has to give it up right before that check, and that's eventually what made that ball go out deep past the end zone and past the net, and that gave the ball back to Blaine for that last final chance. But, John, honestly, with just the 2 goals scored in that first quarter, it's a little surprising to me, like we've said, that we didn't have a few more. I think we do credit the defense, and certainly on one end, Nick Hudson has made some outstanding stops, even made a stop prior to the goal. It came off a rebound.
Yeah, I think both goaltenders have been up to the task, but there haven't been a ton of shots at them. They have allowed just the singular goal each, but they haven't faced nearly as many shots as the other goaltenders we've seen early in the spring covering the Northwest Suburban Conference. Let's take a look at what we have upcoming, or what Blaine has upcoming. The Bengals boys going to take on Anoka at home next up, then at Andover, at Robbinsdale Armstrong, at Champlain Park, before they finish with 3 straight at home, beginning with a Centennial game. So
Champlain Park, the defending Northwest Suburban Conference champion. So at the end of that, they will have Champlain Park, and meanwhile, it's Champlain Park up after Coon Rapids for Spring Lake Park. So they'll get Coon Rapids, then Champlain, and they'll stay in conference eventually with Irondale. Going to match up with Providence Academy in there as well. So plenty of games still left on the schedule for both these teams. We mentioned a springboard, John, and the competition is definitely stiff. I mean, they both have the defending champ on the schedule. They both have some top flight teams. Maple Grove's in the rear view for the Bengals, so they might take the edge there. But there's a lot of games to be had, both in and maybe 1 or 2 out of conference combined between these two teams to try and set themselves up for a good sectional run.
Both teams obviously focused on today's action. They played to a draw after 1 quarter. We enter the second quarter with a face-off after the goaltenders switch ends. Same pair on the face-off, Hutton in against Klebeck. And Klebeck's had the better of these opportunities so far. He's a dog out there working hard.
He's a wrestler, what would you expect?
Yeah. Has that lower body strength and that quick explosiveness you need as soon as the whistle is sounded. It's paid off. He didn't get it clean this time, but his team did win possession thanks to his extra effort. Drew Nelson has it on the near side, leaves it back out to the top for Klebeck. Daniel Klebick started right, now comes back left. Gets in fairly tight, but curls back. Feed out to the top for Benson. Zach Benson wanted to give it to Robinson. Now he does. Nick Robinson, far side. Heads towards the shadows, now comes back. Changing his field, now gets it underneath. This shot goes off the side of that, no good for Staria. Senior shot might have been deflected, and then it quickly went into the side of the netting.
Good job by Widmer. He's hugging the post, just like we've seen from Hudson on the other side, standing tall, filling up as much of that net as possible from ground to top crossbar.
Ball played behind the net, left over to Nelson near side. Give it back to the point, and they reset with Zach Benson. Benson has Robinson with him. They hold on. Get it down around underneath. Staria looking for options. Gives to Nelson. Everything's just packed in so tightly for this Blaine defense. Klebick starting in. Now get it to the top and trying to force the issue. Someone needed to. Nick Robinson gave it a try, but a shot well off the mark. Possession, thanks to the speed of Blaine, stays with the Bengals. That was the initial sign, but no one's going to play the ball.
And that's all we saw early on in this game. Back in the first quarter, it was a lot of forced shots, shots with sticks right in front of you, and shots that, yeah, if it's perfect, it might go in, but the advantage is all to the netminder with some of those deep, long-distance, bouncing low shots.
Spring Lake Park maintains possession. Out of the top, Robinson gives to Nelson. Drew Nelson looking for an opportunity. He's pushed away, literally. Now he circles around to get along the extended goal line. Feeds it in behind and gets it back. Out to Staria near the point. Staria being beaten off with that long stick. Gives it up. Klebick puts a shot. No, that's a pass right underneath. He was on the doorstep but retreated behind. Blaine picks up the ball thanks to Weingen picking it out of the air. Gives it to his goaltender. And as Spring Lake Park retreats, finally, Blaine starts the path upwards.
Bengals needed one more, or Panthers rather, needed one more man crashing to the middle of the net. That was an outstanding pass. I mean, it'll be few and far between that you get a pass that deep, that close to the post. That is perfect distribution point to find somebody crashing in towards the net to get a point-blank look.
9:25 and ticking here in the second quarter. 1-1 still our score. No goals in this second. Big thanks to everyone for tuning in here on North Metro TV for this one. Ball pass to Staria as Spring Lake Park works it. He gives the pill up. Now taken by Nelson, and a flag comes out. Delayed here as Nelson took a stick to the chops there, it looked like. Saw his head kick back. Klebick starting in. He's bumped hard, loses control of the ball, and that brings the whistle, and I think we've got a man advantage upcoming.
And you called it plain. It was a little advertent there, but after that, I'm still amazed with the speed of Danny Klebick there. We watched him throughout the wrestling season, and he had a fairly good year with the Panthers as they try to build that program up, but you don't get a chance. You see quickness, but you don't get a chance to see foot speed necessarily on the wrestling mat, and he certainly has both of those.
It's always fun to see what an athlete who you think is so specialized can do in another regard. Always like watching offensive linemen dunk the basketball.
Exactly.
At the higher levels.
Sometimes you forget they're also 6'7".
Yep. Air ball control behind the net. Spring Lake Park finds Nelson. Nelson to the point. Staria with a big, strong swing, but it goes wide. Possession stays with the Panthers. And I don't see a guy. Oh, there is one kneeling for Blaine. There is a man out right now. Brandon Christensen. It's too hard to count the players. I saw JW trying to do it.
I did, and I figured it out, but I was right with you. I first looked down in front of the scorer's bench, but it is the man advantage for the Panthers, first one we've had.
From our angle, it's hard to see him. He's hidden by some other players standing behind him. Man advantage continues for the time being. Now the ball put out in front, and Jake Everts able to finish the play. The sophomore scores the goal to put the Panthers back in front.
So what have we been talking about for this entire game? That's trying to find some space. Well, you can also create space by forcing that penalty, so you have the man advantage. You have a little more room to work. The man behind the net is going to be generally uncontested, and that allows an even better shot. Oh, and sometimes it'll even allow you to sneak right in there past the post, and Jake Everts does just that.
Now, Everts did a nice job. He had the big threat in Drew Nelson right there. So he faked to Nelson before he took it in tight himself and put it between the wickets of the goaltender, Widmer. So back to midfield we go with Spring Lake Park on top, 2-1, 8:08 remaining, and off the face-off, Klebeck wins it again, this time thanks to a little help from the official. However it happens. Spring Lake Park back on the attack. This is a team coming off its first win of the season after dropping 4 in a row to begin the 2015 campaign, but they've hung with this 4-1 Blaine Bengals team just fine. Staria gives it underneath. Everts this time being forced back in a hurry. Crowdle taking it to him with that long stick. Back to the point. Robinson off to Staria. Robinson flashing down underneath, but there are just too many blue jerseys inside. Spring Lake Park gives it to Zach Benson. Benson looking for an opening, just an alleyway to squeeze that one through. Comes towards the side. Angles a little rough where he passes behind to Everts. Feed out to the front, knocked down. Getting a stick on it was Crowdle, and it's tracked down. Quick work there by Christensen.
That's very similar to some of those desperation shots we've seen from the front. That's a desperation pass, just trying to create something. You've been stuck in the mud a little bit, passing it around, running around, flashing one guy through, just trying to make something happen. Not a bad idea, just doesn't work.
Straight up and down, Spring Lake Park has had no success, but they've gotten 2 goals, thanks one to transition and the other to the man advantage.
They need and thrive on space. They're not quite creating the space that can take them to an outstanding level as an offense. Right
in front of the net and able to put it home for the second time today. A goal for John Hickey. And he's the one who single-handedly, at least scoring-wise, keeping the Bengals in this one as he's knotted up the Panthers once more.
And this is a way to certainly create some space. A good quick move. I don't know if he knew he was going to be open, but he takes his one man, uses the net a little bit as a screen to make sure his man has to go to the top to defend, and then he does have that little pivot, and if there's no defense, it's you one-on-one on the goalie.
Gotta get that help side D to come over. Nobody there but the goaltender. And if Hickey's alone with the goaltender,
especially that close,
yeah, that's not
within 3 yards.
Doesn't seem fair. 6.5 remaining here in the second quarter in a tie ball game.
Panthers have controlled some of the faceoffs here in this second quarter. And again, the only goal they've been able to manufacture, though, came on that advantage.
Brian Lopez, the junior, with speed, bringing it up towards the front end. And now the ball lost out of bounds. Blaine gets control, and they waste no time heading upfield. Austin Johnson brings it into the offensive end. Now working in behind. Hickey comes all the way around to the near side. Tried to feed it to a cutter who was right down the middle, but it's out of his reach and then nearly rolls out of bounds.
I like what the Panthers do with Charles Davis on defense. We saw his speed, but he's good just kind of as a floater. You think of a box and one in basketball. He's just in the middle, making sure his long stick can clog up a pass just like that, and if not tap it down, at least make the Bengals think about it a little more and cause that miscue.
Tanner Jones with troubles on the handles, and that leads to a turnover. Ball grabbed by John Ackerson. He gives it to the goaltender, and Hudson brings it pretty far up before he passes ahead to Joe Lezot. Lezot coming in strong, and that one might have deflected off his own player. Staria was in the way underneath and stopped that one from getting to the goaltender, it looked like. After a group huddle there in the battle for the ball, possession stays with Spring Lake Park. And we've had more of those, I feel like, than we've had in other games as well, where there's no clear possession. You've got 6 to 8 players all going after the ball like a 6-year-old soccer game.
And even more of them have been pushed out towards the middle of the field. We've had a couple of occasions where that scrum has happened right on the Spring Lake Park logo. So neither team, not only not gaining possession of the ball, neither team really has the field position waiting for them if they can.
Drew Nelson looking to put some moves on. He does to get in a little bit closer, but help defense, and that is one area that Blaine has been excellent in. But the way they're clogging the front of the net. Here, pass out to the top, and the shot sent over the net. for Spring Lake Park, Zach Benson.
We talked about what they're doing with Davis on the other end defensively. Bengals are taking a little more of a page out of the two sentinel type book, keeping one guy on either side of the goal, whether the ball's behind or in front. They sag him back to the post a little bit, and I think that cuts off some close lanes.
We saw that in the girls' game here last week. The flankers, or sentinels as we called them, and that defense seemed to fare pretty well.
They can be extra eyes for the goalkeeper. In the girls' game we talked about, everyone turns around. Goalkeeper still keeps his back, but those two sentinels, they can turn around and get a full view of what's going on behind the net, as well as obviously what's going on in front. I think they've been a key part of making sure there is always a man help side, whether it's them or they're calling someone else to make sure they spot the ball.
Jake Evert's doing a lot of running, and he's still behind the net. He finally passed it off to Staria. He looked to leave it out for Nelson, but it eludes him, and with speed chasing after it is Austin Johnson. Johnson might have been the first one there, but he didn't gather the ball. So Nelson has it again, and he heads upfield. Lost his stick and the ball, but by then he lost the defender, so he had the time to pick it up. To the top for Klebik. Now another long shot, and this one good for a goal. Zach Benson, his first of the day. The Panthers slide back in front, 3-2.
That was an absolute bullet. If you're going to shoot from out there, you might as well wind and fire. Benson, we've seen his strength as a defender, bumping guys off. Well, now we see, all right, give me a little space to wind up. Big time slap shot type shot right there, and he buries it through. Great placement, great power, and a 3-2 lead for the Panthers.
Easily the longest goal we've seen here today, with most of the most scores coming from in tight. But with that one, Panthers showing a little more versatility in how they can score, and getting their first goal in what you'd call sort of an even up situation. So showing they can do that as well. 3 goals in 3 very different ways today for Spring Lake Park to help them to the 1-goal advantage. Again, about 3:05 remaining here in the second quarter. Ball taken to the far side by Blaine. Blaine has never led, but they've never trailed by more than 1 either in this low-scoring first half of boys lacrosse here at Spring Lake Park. Bring it in out towards the front. Hickey with that same move, and it works again. John Hickey with his 3rd goal of the day. Hats off to Hickey, and he ties this one at 3 apiece.
Plant the foot and spin. The first time I thought it was kind of a fluke because the defense just didn't get there in time. Well, this time there were defenders coming, and he's just so quick with that little move. He again makes sure that his defender, you'll watch him here, the only place that defender can go is up top because he stops so quick. Then he can rotate. Then he's got a free look at the goal just about 4 yards away. Same move, it's just that hard to stop.
Get to the block, pivot, layup. That's how easy it's looked for him. The goaltender doesn't have much of a chance with the attacker being so close. And Hickey, 18 goals entering the day. He's up to 21. And again, he alone has gotten on the board for the Bengals today, helping keep pace with this Panthers team. We're tied at 3. Timeout right now with 2:43 remaining in the second quarter.
We talked a little bit, John, off the start of the game about the Bengals and making a run through the postseason a year ago. Well, the Panthers, yes, they lost in the first round of sectionals a year ago to Centennial, but they had a solid season, going 6-6 in the last year of the North Suburban Conference. Totino Grace in there with some tough games for them, going 6-6. And so they're also looking to build. They got off to obviously the opposite start. They played some tough teams over their first 4, but I think what they can build and hang their hat on is the fact that they can obviously defend. I mean, they last game, did give up 11 goals to Centennial, but from what we've seen here today, outside of the individual effort from Hickey, they've shut pretty much everything else down for the Blaine Bengals, and that's got to be a huge positive sign for Coach Letourneau in his first year.
But even with Hickey having as many goals as he's had this season, he is not normally the lone goal scorer for his team. I mean, Alec Larson had 12 entering the day. Rich Gerard, 7. A couple of guys have gotten 2, 3, 4. You know, those sorts of numbers. So it's not normally Hickey all alone. We expected him to have a good game. He usually does, but we didn't expect him to be doing it solo when it comes to scoring. And I say that not just because he has all the goals, but in the way he has scored all 3 goals. He's been in a one-on-one situation, and he's won that battle to get the score.
And we talk about creating space, and that seems to be what's bogged down the Panthers a little bit in what you could call their half-court type offense, even strength. But Hickey, he can do it himself. He can be that playmaker that you need in just about any sport.
On the face-off, opportunity here for Blaine. And the Bengals get a rare face-off win. With speed, here's Girards. New player onto the field, Alec Larson. Those are the second and third scorers that I was just mentioning for this Blaine team that usually get into the act. Larson with 12 on the season starts his attack. Comes to the near side, bounces one wide. It goes out of bounds, but Hickey's got position, and the Bengals will hang on to the ball. Little run and gun action on that last attempt for Larson. And we get a goal to give Blaine its first lead of the game as we look back at the previous attempt.
And the Bengals just kept at it there, John, after they did maintain possession on that deep shot away. He got the goal from, I believe it was Graff that they credited to. He was right there in front.
Yeah, number 18, Peyton Graff, just his 3rd of the year. Hickey's the one who brought it out, but he passed it off, and Graff cutting to the net. And this is a play that they've tried many times. Both teams have tried this sort of play. It had never worked because guys weren't receiving the pass cleanly. Graff does. That's the hard part. The easy part is finishing. And he was able to do that to give his team its first lead of the day. So Spring Lake Park playing down with 2 minutes to go in the first half. Panthers trying to answer back. Staria from the near side. Spinning around out in front. Hands it off to Benson. Looking for an opportunity. Has Klebick with him. Works off a screen from Klebick. Benson gives it up to the far side. Everts. Back to Benson. And down to Nelson behind the net. Drew Nelson fakes a pass.
I'd imagine the Panthers will take what's given to them, but it'd be interesting to see if they even want to think about giving possession back to Blaine, who has scored the last 2 goals.
Nelson knocked down, and a flag finally comes up. There was a lot of contact there, and it took a while for the official to get his flag out, but once the man was tripped down to the ground, oof.
Grabbed his leg, kind of got him under the knee there.
Yeah, you might feel that one.
Yeah. So the Panthers, their second time with the man advantage. It's Reese Foster in the box.
Yeah, they were able to score last time. 1:10 to go here in this half. Like to go into the locker room tied up at the very least. And they have a great opportunity here. Should have this this man advantage for most of the rest of the way. Klebick at the point. Just 10 seconds left. It looked like Blaine might have had some confusion about their defensive setup, not having all their guys back at the initial start. Now they're all set. And no real opportunity for Spring Lake Park throughout there. Klebick at the top. Swings one. That one bounces up and over. Unable to stick it was Widmer, but
Bengals just had too many guys sucked in behind the net. There were 3 back there. You have to be able to distribute from behind the net, but you have to have people to distribute too that are out in a scoring position in front. They just did not have that, and for that, they'll suffer the loss of possession here, even with the advantage.
So Blaine now controlling. Going up the far wing. Leave it to the middle. And Widmer, the goaltender, with a long pass into the front side. There he finds Graff. Graff just got the last score, but now he loses control of the ball as the half comes to a close. So Blaine, who trailed most of the way, edges in front through 1 half. The Bengals have the 4-3 advantage over the hometown Panthers in a very tight and low-scoring defensive battle here in boys lacrosse.
The Bengals did a great job, John, being able to get the last 2 goals and finally climb over the hump. It's been a game that has been close, never separated as we are right now by more than a goal. But the Bengals, as you mentioned, hadn't led, and the Hickey show continued. He finally got a little bit of help, and we'll see if it's a defensive battle the rest of the way or if these teams can make adjustments at the half.
Hickey, as advertised, he has a hat trick already, and his team leads 4-3. At the halftime break. We'll take a break as well. You're watching Boys Lacrosse on North Metro TV.
Known for its vineyards and hilltop villages, Umbria is also known for its delicious tasting pizza. Made traditionally from the finest ingredients, Umbria Pizzeria will make you taste the difference, smell the love, and transport you to Italy.
La cena è pronta.
Dinner's ready.
You might even begin to feel like an Italian.
Delicioso.
Umbria Pizzeria, turning taste into memories.
Up the announcers, slowly fade the music. Gonna come over to camera 2, stand by, count of 2 and 3, 2, 1. Losing the graphic, ready camera 3 and 3's up. Ready camera 4, 2, 1, track the digicard, we're up on 1. Give me the batter. Jerry, can you hear me? Jerry, can you hear me?
I had the strangest dream. North Metro TV had professional coverage of high school sports. You were there? You were there? You were there? You were not there.
North Metro TV Sports, get in the game.
Begin transmission of North Metro TV Channel 15. With local professionally produced shows, Channel 15 is unlike any other station on cable TV.
With exclusive interviews and stories, North Metro TV News covers the issues that matter in the community. New episodes premiere Fridays at 6:30 p.m.
High school sports highlights and a recap of your teams, Blaine, Centennial, and Spring Lake Park. Watch Sports Den, new episodes each Wednesday, live at 6 p.m.
Pierre Roddy to the 10, 5, touchdown Cougars!
Educational and informative programming focused on local events created to inform our communities on issues regarding public safety.
NMTV can also be watched anywhere in the world live, on the web, and on demand at northmetrotv.com.
Back at Spring Lake Park, where the hometown Panthers trail 4-3 at the half in a very back-and-forth first half of play. John Haddon, J.W. Cox, and our entire North Metro crew with you as we look at that first quarter and first half of action overall. But it started with the 2 guys we expected to see, including Drew Nelson, who finishes.
Nelson finishes after the space created by the speed upfield by Klebeck, and the speed of the Panthers was really their huge positive in an up-and-down first half.
Answering back, it seemed like it was Hickey, and he got one there. We had just 2 goals in the opening quarter. Things picked up a little bit in the second, but this is still a defensive battle.
Panthers able to use the penalty and the man advantage with Ebert sneaking in there inside that near post to get that second goal and take a lead again.
And Hickey with his patented move, get underneath, pivot, and force it in. He had the first 3 scores for Blaine, but they were all catch-up goals at Spring Lake Park, getting that long distance shot from Benson.
That was one of the few openings they had, or rather one of the few on-target shots from outside. And then again, John called it. It's the patented move. You see it again. This one maybe even better. He had a defender creeping around, still able to beat both the defender creeping and the goalie and make that, at that point, a 3-3 game.
Yeah, those were actually 2 different highlights. Right. That wasn't the same goal twice. And then they did get someone else into the scoring app, Peyton Graff, with that last goal. And that's the big news of the day, because once another Bengal was able to get on the board, they were able to move in front for the first time instead of playing that catch-up game. So Blaine with the 4-3 advantage, thanks in large part to Hickey, but overall the defense is the story of the day.
Absolutely, and it will continue to be the story to start the second half. Which of these teams can find a way to cut a couple of holes in the opponent's defense? We talked a lot about there's games to be had here and games to be won for both these teams, but you got the Bengals off a loss, you've got the Panthers off a win. Each team trying to either correct or continue what they've been doing over the past game, so it's a big second half coming up here for each of these squads.
We haven't talked a lot about the goaltenders, but I do want to touch on Blaine's Jacob Whitmer, the junior, had played just 72 minutes entering today. He has just, it seems like, wrestled that job away from Nystrom, who has had some struggles at times, but has helped his team through some wins this year. But Whitmer getting the call today, and he has been up to the task for both these goaltenders have in the limited opportunities they've seen.
Yeah, they've made the saves that they've been expected to make. Again, you get a little bit of an edge. It doesn't make it any easier. Let's be clear. It's still not easy to do, but when you're defense is forcing those shots to come from the outside, you have much more time to react. They have a much greater, a much smaller rather, margin of error with their pinpoint control from that deep, so it can make it a little easier task, but both of these goaltenders have been up to that task and making sure that they've made the stops that they've been asked to make, and has been a good game in net for both.
Bengals with the 1-goal advantage after one half of play. You see the Panthers getting a chat from their coach right now. The other side of the field sees the Bengals warming up to try and maintain this lead for one more half and walk away winners today. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get you set for the start of that second half. Again, Bengals up by 1.
Change the channel. Change the channel. Make a sound. Share the echo.
Share the echo and show the world your face. It is your right to seek.
It is your right to receive. It is your right to impart.
The doors of public distribution are constantly changing.
It is our duty to bar those doors from closing.
We will not let our voices be silenced through legislation, through commodification, through the lumbering giants pulling the plug. I believe in public access.
I believe in public access. Stay tuned.
Come to Ham Lake and see how good life can be. Conveniently located only 20 miles north of the Twin Cities on Highway 65, yet Ham Lake has kept its rural charm. Residents of Ham Lake enjoy 1-acre minimum lots, giving you space to live with abundant natural green spaces and recreational activities like boating, fishing, golf, disc golf, camping and playgrounds, and tons of seasonal fun all year round. Ham Lake is home to one of the top school districts with consistent high scores in standardized testing and community ratings. Ham Lake is a business-friendly city and willing to work with businesses and developers of all sizes. Whether you are just starting out or looking to grow, Ham Lake has the business opportunities you've been waiting for. Life in Ham Lake moves a little slower, and that's the way we like it. Ham Lake offers space to live, to grow, and space to relax. Come visit Ham Lake and see for yourself what you are missing. Ham Lake is convenient country living.
Blaine and Spring Lake Park getting back onto the field as we get back for the start of the second half of this game here on North Metro TV. Boys Lacrosse, John Adden and J.W. Cox with you. And we haven't had the electricity that we've seen in some of our previous lacrosse games due to the low-scoring affair we had in the first half but it has been a very entertaining game with how close it is, and on paper 4-1 against 1-4, that wasn't necessarily expected just on the surface, JW.
Yeah, and 57 goals allowed coming in by the Spring Lake Park Panthers, opposed to 24 goals allowed all season long by the Blaine Bengals. Maybe you thought you'd get defense from the team in powder blue, but you're getting defense both ways, and teams are having to find their chances and make the most of what are sparing chances throughout this game.
Another face-off to the Panthers, and that looked like it was going to be an easy win for Blaine. Instead, bringing it all the way up and just missing out thanks to the goaltending was Spring Lake Park. And actually, they made a change. The Blaine Bengals going with Blake Nystrom in the second half. So we complimented Jacob Widmer for his first half efforts, but he's not back out there. And now Blaine loses control right in front of the net, and it's grabbed by Nick Hudson. He is still on the field in net for his Panthers team.
Nastrom came in 3-1, so you can't fault the record, certainly with what he had done, and just under 6 goals allowed per game. And you would mention it's kind of a battle there, and they decided to go with Nastrom here in the second half.
Blaine forcing a turnover, now has an opportunity underneath, mishandling the ball, and it goes over to Spring Lake Park. You know, when you look at goals against average or save percentage, Widmer has better numbers, but he's played far fewer games and far fewer whole games with the limited minutes he's played this season. So it's hard to compare based on their numbers, and I think for the coaches it must be hard to compare if in a very competitive game they're making a switch at halftime after Widmer didn't play a bad half. Now they're going to see what Nystrom can do.
I take a look at 6 goals per game over the first 5, and I think that's pretty good in the Northwest Suburban Conference for Lacrosse. And so to not see him in net was a little surprising. But again, I think you hit it on the head. The only way that you can really get a judge on these two guys is putting them out there in some close game action.
Here an opportunity. Hickey gets the rebound, shoots, but it's blocked by Hudson. Great stand there by Hudson. One of the better performances we've seen from the goaltenders. Now a wraparound opportunity. Nope, pass it off. Easy empty net goal that time. The Blaine Bengals getting it from Alec Larson, and that was great team lacrosse there. After pulling the goaltender out, they just went for the easiest shot.
And definitely rough there for Hudson, who, as you said, had a great stand, but maybe got caught a little too aggressive there. He's got to trust that someone's going to come and pick up that offensive player streaming around the net. He has to go hug the post and at least give himself a chance to make the stop and make sure it's not going to be an empty net situation. So 3 really very good stops prior to that. But again, he loses himself a little too over-aggressive, getting caught away and didn't have the help maybe he thought.
Our first 2-goal lead of the day, and it's with the Blaine Bengals, who work back defensively now with Spring Lake Park, trying to tighten this up. 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter after a quick score by Blaine. Spring Lake Park with Drew Nelson. Gives it out to the top for Klebeck. He's slouched down the middle. Klebeck bounces it too hard. He shot it straight into the ground instead of getting a low trajectory that went towards the net. And with that bounce, it popped up and over the crossbar easily and out of bounds.
Very easy that time for Nastrom. Just kind of follow that high bouncing ball with his stick and make sure it went well wide. Panthers, though, do maintain the possession.
Ball sent towards the net. Grabbed hold of by Everts. Everts backing out. Now passes up towards the top and finds Lezot there. Joe Lezot looking for a screen. Gets it and he starts towards the net. Lezot shoots and that one's stopped by Nastrom. Nice job to get the stick up quick. Nastrom starts up. About 15 yards away from his own goal now. Passed it off. Grabbed by Treese, gives it back to his goaltender. They're playing a dangerous game right now. Goaltender 40 yards away from the net nearly. And now ball over to Spring Lake Park. They get it ahead. Right in on goal, and this shot stopped again. Spring Lake Park Staria stuffed from right in front.
Nastrom did a great hockey goalie impression there. Dropped down to the knees, kind of making like there's a pad save to be had, and that really cut off the low angle.
Ball controlled on the other end. Blaine's Wyatt Dimke has it. Now give it out towards the top, deflected away. Nick Robinson comes up with the ball. He knocked it down, and then he got it clean.
Thought there was going to be a chance there for some transition, but the Bengals, I don't think had fully gotten into their offensive attack, so there were already some more blue shirts back to defend.
Everts has it near side. Back behind the net. Running along that Panthers logo in the football end zone. Gives it down. Taken by Simicay-Wiz. Sam Simicay-Wiz. Guessing most people call him Sam. It's a mouthful. Once again, Simicay-Wiz. He gives it up to Everts. They keep switching places. Everts now sets up at the top. Panthers looking to make a change. Nearly had a collision because of it. Everts gives it off, and with it, the Panthers making a move. Dickerson comes around this shot. Excuse me, that was Staria. His shot popped up by the goaltender, though, and then grabbed by Nastrom.
Immediately what I noticed about Nastrom on the 3 saves that he's made here in this third quarter, he's able to not only deflect it and pop it up, as you mentioned, with his stick, but he is also the first one to snatch it out of the air. You'll see that stick work right here. It's great secondary stick work. There he makes the save, and right there he goes after the ball to secure it and make sure there's no close rebound.
He's also done a lot better job with his webbing. I mean, he's not just deflecting with his body or the pole. He's getting the webbing on it, and that is what slows it down and allows it to pop up a lot of times in a controlled manner. And so all the way through, he's doing a nice job defensively after coming in cold, since he didn't play at all in the first half. Bengals with the ball, leading 5-3. Hickey gave it up to Larson. Now it's passed around behind. Get it out towards the top. Big shot from there, and it goes wide. Blaine's Josh Hutton it, giving it his all, looking for his 5th goal of the season, but he couldn't keep it on net. Blaine maintains possession. It looks like it could be short-lived. Tracked down by Hickey after Larson had some trouble. Hickey to Larson. Starts in. Larson winds up and goes over the top. Couldn't keep it under the crossbar. Goes out of bounds. Still Blaine controlling offensively. Hickey trying a soft dump down to give it off to a teammate, but it just rolls through. Is gathered up by Tanner Jones. Jones feeding Larson. Back to the point. Now underneath, and a quick shot put in by Ridge Gerards. 8th of the season for the junior. And Blaine now doubling up on the opposition. They lead 6-3 here in the third quarter.
And that was just, again, you mentioned the dump down into the middle the prior time through. That time Gerard's just able to come over, and he was the recipient this time, but more so the recipient on the move, and that left him with a little more space. He was going to shoot right from the first when he saw that shot, that pass coming in, and it was one quick motion able to spin and fire. Must feel good for him. He's the hockey goalie. Now he is scoring on others rather than being scored on. Granted, he had a very, very good season, but it's still going to feel better to put that pill past somebody than have the puck go sliding past.
6:19, and the clock ticks here in the third quarter. Spring Lake Park has been quiet for some time. They led 3-2, but they have given up the last 4 goals. After a shot goes wide, it's still Panther ball.
I got 13.
Staria has it behind the net. Has it knocked away, and then he's knocked down. An arm comes up. Possession staying with Spring Lake Park. Decently busy week for us here on North Metro TV. A couple more games to cover on the Diamond later this week. Sports Den tomorrow.
Sports Den tomorrow. 6 o'clock that'll air.
Blaine controls. Spring Lake Park putting some pressure on. Deep, but now pushed along the wing and taken up to the offensive end. Bengals find Hickey. He gives it off underneath, and from there, it's stuffed in by Tanner Jones. The junior gets on the board, and the Bengals spreading it out after Hickey scored the first 3. Now 4 different goal scorers have scored the last 4. And Blaine leads 7-3.
And that time, we've talked about transition with speed. This is transition by pinpoint passing. I mean, just a great job. 1, 2, and that puts a man right on the doorstep, and a great way to finish for Jones. And that'll get a timeout from the Panthers, who have seen a game that they led 3-2 become 5 unanswered goals, and now they trail at 7-3.
Let's look at that tic-tac-toe goal for Blaine as the Bengals looking for their 5th win of the season. They have not done much other than the Maple Grove game that would tell you that they're not a contender in this Northwest Suburban Conference after being really out of it throughout the course of last season. Did well in the sectional playoffs to a degree, but that's when you consider that they had some struggles during the regular season.
And it's a beautiful thing with the Northwest Suburban Conference, as big as it is now. You see it certainly in lacrosse, you see it in other sports. A lot of the Section 7 teams, at least by my count, the only Section 7 team that's not a Northwest Suburban Conference team is Forest Lake. So they're the only wild card. Say all of that to say if you can get to the later rounds of the sectional tournament, it's a very good chance you've seen who you're going to be playing and you know what they're going to want to do, and you at least have a little bit of a playbook on how to stop a team or how to score against a team. So if you can, even if you're the Panthers and you say want to get back to the 6-6 that they finished last year, or the Bengals who are trying to make their way to a much better record than they finished with the 3 wins in conference a year ago, if you can at the very least go to school on some of these teams in the regular season, you may get another shot at 1 or 2 of them in the postseason.
Well, Blaine's a team that is building for something. Only 2 seniors on their roster, 1 in the starting lineup today, so largely a junior-led team here in 2015, including their big-time scorer, John Hickey. Spring Lake Park with the ball. They desperately need to get back on the board. They have been in a serious scoring lull. Here's Klebick. He feeds it out to Zach Benson at the top. Benson trying to force his way in. It's pushed back. Benson tries again. Works his way along the near side. Benson finds Nelson behind the net. Nelson gives it up front. Spin moves put on by Brian Lopez, but he retreats out and hands it off to Staria. Staria with a long shot. That one again knocked down by the webbing of Nastrom.
And he's been an outstanding difference maker here in the second half. There have been some good looks, some close-in looks, some further looks, kind of sniper shots for the Panthers, but they have all been stopped by the network of Nastrom.
Crodel has some Crodel, had some trouble controlling that ball. But Blaine does set it up offensively. Hutton controlling. Hutton with the stutter step, now leaves it behind for Larson. Alec Larson off a screen to his left, and this shot knocked down by Hudson. And again, he uses the scoop to knock it away. And we've got a flag for the man knocked down.
Lopez was trying to get that break, and I think Gerads was just a little bit too far behind him to make that check and not draw the penalty. So again, the Panthers, they've been the only team that's taken the man advantage so far today. And they'll do it for a 3rd time. They scored the 1st time, came up empty the 2nd.
Spring Lake Park controlling. The Bengals trying to get themselves straight as to who's going where. And the ball brought up by Zach Benson. Gives it to Klebick at the top. Swung over to the left side. Drew Nelson gives it underneath. Being pushed back is Everts. Everts works it in behind, has Staria with him. They'll cross. Everts still has the ball. Now gives over to Staria. Nelson sets up underneath, but they pass out to Klebick at the top. We're even up now. Possession with Spring Lake Park's Klebick. Trying to feed a cutter, that doesn't work. And the Bengals with speed get to the ball first. Knocking it out ahead and finally gaining control. This is Jake Kloop. Gives it down low, pass back out to the top for Tanner Jones. Jones retreats all the way to the far side, finds himself a sunny spot. as most of the stadium now cast in shade. Works around behind the net. Long run. Finally tried to pass it back, but not expecting it was Larson. This ball goes out of bounds and possession to Spring Lake Park.
Panthers, rather the Bengals, did a great job with Clute, as you mentioned there, fighting for that possession, able to tip the ball ahead, but unable to do anything. And the Panthers, though, had the short-lived man advantage, and now we'll see on the offensive side if they can cut into this lead. You'd have to think, John, that the way they've been scoring and the way the defense for the Bengals has been going, they've got to get at least one before this almost 3 minutes expires at the end of this third quarter.
Well, they haven't shown they've been able to beat Nastrom at any point. He has done excellent work here in the second half and has his own personal mini shutout going right now. About 2.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. He came on after the first half was over. Nelson gives it to the front. Now a close in attack. That shot knocked away. And again, getting himself in front of it was Nastrom, and that time he used anything he could.
And Jake Clute was again right there to pick up the loose ball for a moment. He lost it out of bounds, and the possession goes back to the Panthers.
So here's Klebick. Klebick being pushed away. Now he starts to drive towards the net. He gets in tight. His shot knocked away. Great save, and it's picked up by Christensen. Brandon Christensen passes it out ahead on the run. Crodel. Still Crodel. He shoots, and this one wide. He had a man underneath, Wyatt Dimke, who ended up being closest as the ball went out of bounds.
And Nastrom, again, we've talked about the stick work. That time he did. He just is able to get the body in front of it. I think the right shin able to deflect it up in the air. And he did have the defense in place to help him finish off that save.
Seems to be in a great position when the shot does get fired, whenever that is. Here's John Hickey circling around. Gets to it right in front. The pass finds a wide open Wyatt Dimke, and he stuffs it home. Dimke with his first goal of the game, and the junior with the score for the Bengals makes it 8-3.
So the barrage just continues with 5 in a row now. Hickey hasn't scored in this second half. Instead, he's left the scoring to 4 of his teammates. That time he gets the assist. Great move around the edge. I think he was drawing more attention with that move that he showed in back-to-back goals in the first half, and that attention paid to Hickey meant that Demke was going to be open in front of the net.
And he's doing a great job of distributing. You mentioned the assist there. He's got a couple of assists on all these Bengal goals that have been scored by his teammates. 8-3. Blaine controlling. Off the face-off. Here's Gerard. Gerard gives it back. Larson. Trying to bring it up was Huttonen. Gives it back to Larson. Blaine working its lead larger and larger. Can work slower and slower. Gerard. Ooh, he swings that one in. A big shot for Ridge Gerard, his second goal of the day, and now he joins John Hickey as a multi-goal scorer for the Bengals. He also extends the lead for the visiting Blaine squad, 9-3. Bengals on top.
So instead of the Panthers finding a way to get a goal, they give up a very good one with an assist, and this one a great individual effort and more of the strong play. Look at the way he's able to wind up. So much space, not only the wind up, but the good feet plant. He had all the weight moving through, just like a hitter swinging a bat, whatever you want to say. But he was able to put all the force and effort on that. Great release point. Ridge Durant has his second goal tonight.
All Blaine throughout the second half, and really the tail end of the first half as well, is when they started to make their turn, coming from 3-2 down to score the last 7 consecutive goals. Spring Lake Park controlling out near the top. With it is Ben Brewster. Brewster looks like he's got fresh legs out there. He passed it off to Aaron Furlano. He lost control of the ball. It's loose on the field. Furlano first man there, and he gathers it up. Then he loses his footing, loses the ball as well, and it trickles out behind the net. And picked up by Blaine and the Bengals. Move upfield as we get into the final moments of the third quarter. John Hickey. The last second magic from Hickey, the junior, gets in behind the net. 6 seconds to go. Hickey holding on. Comes out in front, swings a shot at the net just before the buzzer. It would have counted if it made it through, but it did not, thanks to Nick Hudson. His save keeps it a 6-goal game. Large lead for the Bengals, and it just seems to keep growing and growing as they look to move their season to a 5-1 record.
5 goals in the second, 5 goals here in the third, John, but the problem for the Panthers, all Bengal goals.
And the great news for the Bengals is it's not all Hickey. So many different guys getting involved. Alec Larson on the score there. Hickey with some great feeds. Here he got it to Gerard, who scores his first of 2 goals in the second half. And a little transition opportunity. Hickey assisting. Finishing is Tanner Jones.
Great 1-2-3 tic-tac-toe, tape to tape, whatever you want to call it. That was some great passing to feed that goal.
Another assist for Hickey as Demke finishes that feed. This one,
the rifleman from the outside.
All Girads.
Needs some sort of laser show type sound effect for that Ridge Girard last shot. That was capping off that 5-goal, all for the Bengals third quarter. 9-3 with the lead. They were down 3-2 and have since blanked the Panthers a little bit, or a lot of Nastrom in that quarter, and a little bit before on the docket of their starting goalkeeper, Jacob Widmer.
Hickey, I counted 3 assists during that highlight reel alone, so he got his in the first half. Now he's spreading the love around, and everybody's getting involved into the scoring column on the Blaine Bengals side. They run up the score to a 9-3 advantage, and this is a score that is somewhat similar to what the Spring Lake Park Panthers have faced throughout the season. They lost at Robbinsdale Armstrong 10-4. They lost to Andover 18-5. That one a wider margin, but we don't know where this one's going to end yet. And Anoka beat them 11-5. Those were the 3 games before their win against Centennial, just the first of the season for the Panthers.
It's got to be a little bit disappointing, or a lot disappointing for the Panthers. We talked about 2 teams trying to make sure that they could continue a springboard if you're the Bengals and the way you started, or continue a springboard off of your first win if you're the Panthers. And they certainly came out well defensively for their head coach, Coach Letourneau, in that first half, but just have not had the offense to match it up, and even the defense faltered, giving the Bengals plenty of chances in quarter number 3.
Well, and even if they weren't going to get the win here today, to play so close against the Bengals in the first quarter plus, and then have it all unravel and completely dry up scoring-wise, tough to see that you were able to hang with the team early but couldn't maintain it. The Spring Lake Park wins this face-off. That was one of the keys to them getting off to a good start early. Drew Nelson has it offensively. Nelson hands it off. He gets it back and leaves it out to the top. They swing it over to the right side for Benson. Been the top unit throughout on offense, and they're on the field now. Little bounce pass behind the net, picked up by Staria. He runs into a pair of defenders looking to hand it off. It's knocked away. Robinson was in the area. Staria gets it himself. He starts towards the net, gives it to Nelson behind. A lot of movement. They feed Everts. Jake Everts works behind, gives to Staria. He whips it at the net, and again, able to scoop it is Nastrom.
His stick work, as we've mentioned a couple of times now, has just been just outstanding in this second half. It's almost like he's come in the second half as a closer. All right, we were in a 1-goal game. We know our offense is going to get going. We just need to make sure we don't give up anything on the other side, and he has closed things out.
Well, it was only a 1-goal game when he came in, as you said, so he is in line for the save by that logic. 10:40 to go here in the fourth quarter. And a 6-goal advantage for Blaine. They're looking to add to it, trying to get into double figures as they work it around the top. Pass underneath. Hesitation there from Tanner Jones. Now he works off a screen to get towards the front. Along the far side, tried to pass it out. And that one a little bit long. Squirts to the other end of the field, but the defenseman alertly playing the ball. Able to track it down was Crodel. Gives it back ahead to the offensive end. Brian Lopez. Even before he starts running, you just figure this guy's got to have speed. So small, he looks like one of those speedsters. Hickey trying to make his way to the front of the net. Too much defense, he gives it behind. Tanner Jones, he gets himself in front. Got a shot off, but it doesn't go. Hickey picks up the loose ball. He swings it towards the net, and John Hickey, that's his most impressive goal of the day because he found a very tight space to squeeze it in. 4 now for John Hickey.
Well, that is his favorite spot on the field where his last 2 goals have come from. That one, he goes a little up in the air with the one-footed spin hop to get a little elevation over his defender, and the rest of it is the pinpoint accuracy that we've already seen from Hickey, that time with a stick in his face.
So John Hickey does get his team into double figures. They lead 10-3 with 9:43 remaining in the 4th quarter. This looking like what the Bengals have been able to do throughout most of the season thus far, and that's have not just wins, but wins with a huge disparity on the scoreboard as this ball flutters towards the net. It was kind of whiffed on, and it just floats into Nastrom. They started with a 15-0 win over Irondale. They also have a 10-goal win over Elk River and a 6-goal win against the Tino Grace in a low-scoring game, 7-1. Push right in front of the net, so Blaine regains possession and will have an opportunity offensively.
Another thing that makes Hickey so impressive is he's willing to do things that maybe his teammates aren't either prepared to do or willing to try in that space. You'll see other Blaine players just kind of keep running on through and reset the offense. It can also tell you what kind of liberty he has to make his own shot. But anytime he gets there, you have to look for the shot or the attacking pass. Almost with anybody else, they're just going to keep running through unless it's a wide open look.
Attack put on by Huttonen, but his shot goes well wide, out of bounds. Blaine hangs on to the ball.
There's a lot of trust between Coach Swart, you can tell, and of course the rest of the teammates out there and what Hickey can do.
Ball put towards the front, scooped up by Robinson, but he didn't have it for long. Now it's loose and everybody's going after it. Haven't had one of these since the first half. Looks like a rugby scrum. Ball pokes out and is scooped up. Spring Lake Park has control thanks to the efforts of Jeffrey Schmidt. Defenseman tried to send it ahead. It was mishandled for a moment. John Ackerson gave it off to his goaltender. Now Hickey comes up with a ball right in front of the net, and he did not look to score that, it didn't look like. He peels back out and took some punishment as he gets up on the wing.
Probably a smart move right there. You can tell that the Bengals know that they're in the driver's seat firmly. They've been there in the second half, and they can hang on to possession here and really make this a much shorter game for the Panthers.
Huttonen misses on a shot that goes wide, but with the positioning that the Bengals had set up,
behind the goal line. You've got to be on the sideline. Right now, please. Thank you.
the Bengals do maintain possession. Tanner Jones breaks out, controlling. Gives it up towards the point, taken there by Evan Anderson. Anderson bumped, leaves it off to Giraz. Stutter step move, and this shot put just wide. I think we heard the goalpost there. And the attempt by Huttonen. Recovered by Giraz. And he's pushed down hard, and then able to get back up under duress. How he maintained possession, I'll never know. He gets tripped up again. Finally, a flag flies. Took a while to get that laundry out of the pocket with the number of times that Giraz was going down to the ground.
And they decided to let the contact go, but I think it was a little more of a purposeful trip than an inadvertent trip, at least in the mind of the official, and that's what finally drew the flag as Giraz went down. He's slow going over to the sideline as the Panthers are going to, the Bengals, I think, are going to take this timeout.
The field is in the shade. We've got a break here with a timeout. 7:15 to go in the fourth quarter. A 10-3 lead for the Blaine Bengals over Spring Lake Park. We mentioned we have some upcoming games on the diamond later this week. Let's take a look. Baseball and softball action coming your way. We start with softball on Wednesday. More Panthers and, well, more Bengals, except it'll be the ladies on the diamond. Spring Lake Park visiting Blaine. Then on Thursday, Spring Lake Park hosting Champlain Park. And next week, baseball on Wednesday, Blaine visiting the Centennial.
Like that matchup that's coming up on Wednesday. I mean, obviously the Bengals sitting there just 3-4, but it's going to be exciting to see the Spring Lake Park Panthers softball team. They had a great run last year, trying to build on that and continue that this year. They got the great pitching of Hallie Jones, who has been unhittable at times, quite literally twirling a no-hitter earlier on this season. And just a fun team to keep an eye on out of the Northwest Suburban Conference, and a real contender when you start talking about section titles and state titles for the Panthers.
We had a nice baseball game to start out the spring coverage in that regard the other day. Extra inning affair, tight game, good pitching throughout, I think, was the highlight there.
And that's what we'll see, certainly, as mentioned, from the Panthers. It's always fun to get those games. You know, it's a well-pitched game, John. We, as you said, went 8 innings in that Bengal Knights Blaine and Irondale matchup, and we still stayed just over the 2-hour mark, even with the way the pitchers were going, get ball, throw ball, and pitching to contact, a lot of outs, but still, well-played game both sides.
Well, and with 3 games this week, it only makes sense with the weather we have. We might as well get out there as many times as we can, as the forecast looks promising for the rest of the week. More of what we had today, which was absolutely beautiful. The sun setting, but skies still blue. As the Blaine Bengals whip a shot over the crossbar, they hang on to possession of the ball. 6:56 remaining in this 4th quarter. 10-3 their advantage, as Spring Lake Park has been stuck on that 3 for a long time.
And they've been struck by the offense. You were right as well going into that. Struck by the offense of the Bengals. Some high-powered shots, some great sharing of the ball. And the Bengals have certainly been the better offensive team here in half number 2.
Nice feed underneath, but Jones unable to finish. Blaine does get the ball back after a bit of a battle. Josh Hutton lost it. He just knocks it over to Drads.
You kind of get the NFL kicker feel for Drads. You just want to see how far out he can take that shot. He's got that cannon of a shot. I don't know, he was at the 35. Why not wind up and fire? Purely for my amusement. Obviously, that's not going to be fundamentally sound. But
well, as we've talked about, when you're trying to burn clock, it's okay to get those long shots off, because you usually will have position behind the net. So you can still run the clock even if the shot doesn't go. So if it goes out of bounds, you still get it. It's the player closest to out of bounds whose team gets the ball behind the net.
And you do, as we mentioned, have to continue to attack. There is the delay penalty. Bengals doing that.
There it is, a goal for Josh Hutton, and he puts himself in the scorebook today with his first goal of the game. 11-3 now, as Hutton going from distance.
So yeah, just what we wanted to see, a little shake and bake move to get one step inside his defender Brewster, and that was all the space he needed. Didn't wait much longer to fire it home.
7 different goal scorers for Blaine now, with Hutton getting his 5th of the season.
Hard to believe they only had 2 goal scorers, mostly 1 throughout that first half, with Hickey and Graff scoring in the first half. Hickey's gotten his 1, but Gerard's the only 2-time winner in the goal scoring so far in the second half for Blaine.
Blaine wins the face-off, and the Bengals are back on the attack. Taken behind the net by Peyton Graff. We just mentioned his name. He scored the last goal of the first half. Graff hands it off. Hickey coming to the near side. Great pass and finishing in the air. Beautiful goal that time for Blaine's Wyatt Dimke. His 2nd goal of the day.
Just outstanding physical ability there. And again, great setup that we've seen for the Bengals throughout. Dimke up top to get it, brings it down in one motion and fires it through.
I think the Bengals are going into razzle-dazzle mode. At this point, Hickey had a nice goal here in the second half on a spin move from the air, and now Dimke somewhat matching him to receive that pass in the air completely clean and just go right after the goaltender. Outstanding attack. 12-3 Bengals. Panthers with the ball after the last face-off. Hard to think that it was a 3-2 Panthers lead. Tied 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and since then, been nothing but Bengals. Spring Lake Park playing behind the net, controlling Astaria. Pass Passed it up ahead. Joe Lezot. Lezot gives it to the near side. On a feed for Everts. Back behind the net, Nelson. Drew Nelson finds the cutter, Brian Lopez. Back to the top. From there, it's Klebick. Spring Lake Park hasn't had a lot of urgency in this fourth quarter, as if it was already done. Now on a nice move, they get a shot off, and that one stopped again. Great save by Nastrom. I thought it was a good look.
Absolutely, one of the better looks they've had all game. And you talk about not necessarily having that urgency, but that's been their problem, John, throughout this game. Unable to really find a spark when they're matched up man for man in that offensive attacking zone. You throw in a goaltender who's not letting anything go, rebound or otherwise, in Nastrom, and it just gets even tougher and has gotten even tougher throughout this second half.
Panthers with another opportunity, controlling is Benson. Hank Benson fakes the pass but hangs on. Now he hands it off to Everts. Benson once more. It's a long stick out in his face. Tries to back up. Works off a screen. A lot of dancing. Looking for an opportunity. Gives it underneath for Everts. Jake Everts from the far side passes back out towards the top. Circling around is Lezot. Gives to Nelson. Drew Nelson very quiet since his game opening goal. Gives it behind. Everts once more. Nelson now near side. That one goal on the early breakaway, but in the quote-unquote half court, he has not been very effective for Spring Lake Park today.
Not alone as the Panthers.
Ooh, there we go. Long distance shot from Zach Benson. Second goal of the day for the midfielder, and the Panthers finally back on the board. It feels good, if nothing else, to get a score. It's now 12-4.
Second time we've seen Benson wind and fire. Another long distance shot. Him and Rich Charads making that the go-to for their pair of goals each way.
Nastrom is beatable here today. He finally has one go past him.
He's been making some tight saves all throughout this half. Benson challenging him now from deep, as you see there. Some of the numbers on the season for Benson.
2.5 minutes remain in the fourth quarter. Nastrom held on for a long time, but to give up just one goal thus far in the half, extremely impressive. Blaine controlling. Brian Bruce had it. Swings over to the right side. Alex Penn, the junior. A lot of the younger guys out there, but Tanner Jones still on the field. He controls behind the net. Here from inside, this one, no goal. Spring Lake Park ball, I believe. Well, they're going to convert. Now they do say it is a goal. There was some confusion. The initial sign was no goal, but after a conference, Blaine extends its lead once again to 9. It's 13-4.
Gotta get a second look at that. Bengals. Obviously this one well in hand.
They credit it to Tanner Jones, and you see him coming on the attack. He gets into the air. That aerial attack. And that one just in and out so quickly, without a goal judge standing back there to light the lamp. There was some confusion, but a goal does go for the Bengals. Spring Lake Park with the ball. Klebick on the attack, has it knocked away. It's loose right in front of the net, and finally Nastrom secures it. Nastrom working behind the net. The defenseman looking for some space to get it upfield. Losing control of the ball was Jake Clute. So Spring Lake Park battling for an opportunity, but Blaine does get it. So here's Clute once again. 1:14 left in the fourth quarter. Clute passes out long to the near side. Reese Foster bringing it up. Passes as it gets across midfield. Now controlling his pick, Graf. Under a minute to go as Graf works in behind the goal. Off a screen. Graf trying to get to the front. Now he dives after the ball and is scooped by the goaltender, Hudson. Spring Lake Park bringing it up. And a deep pass ahead to the middle of the field. Nice find, a great grab by Brewster. Ben Brewster heading up. He puts the shot on. Save made. Can they clear it out? Spring Lake Park gathering. Now it's knocked away, and Blaine has control of the ball. Austin Johnson with it. 25 seconds remain. A little extra pushing and shoving out there. And now Blaine starts to bring it up.
New rivals in the Northwest Suburban Conference, John. Watch out in the waning seconds.
10 seconds remaining as Blaine just looks to work this clock, but we get a whistle that will stop and hand it over to Spring Lake Park. With speed, they could get one more. Here's Brian Lopez. Lopez tries to pass it ahead, and time runs out. 13-4 the final score in favor of Blaine. It was tight early, but it's all Bengals down the stretch as they improve to 5-1 this season, while the Panthers drop to 1-5.
And the Bengals just a great job, John, of sticking through a tough first half. Credit the Panthers for making it a tough first half on the Bengals here at home, but eventually the offense able to break through, and we touched on it at halftime. Hickey, we could see his ability to score, but one man is not going to win a lot of games for you. And finally, when things turned for the Bengals, it was getting multiple goal scorers involved.
Well, Hickey did have this one to start our scoring in the fourth quarter. The great jump and spin. There were a lot of aerial attacks for the Bengals in that fourth quarter. Coming up is Hutton, and Hutton able to swing one past Hudson that time. Here a nice feed cross from Hickey, and the finish by Dimke. He was up in the air and brought it home to finish that attack. Spring Lake Park did get one on the big whip from Benson. Zach Benson from outside lasers that one home. Tanner Jones works his way in front, and then he pivots and fires, getting it past Hudson. Again, just about all Bengals in that fourth quarter. The Panthers did get a single goal, but they fall by the 13-4 final score we have here at Spring Lake Park today. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will chat with a couple of the victors from today's game as Blaine upends Spring Lake Park 13-4 here on North Metro TV.
Known for its vineyards and hilltop villages, Umbria is also known for its delicious tasting pizza. Made traditionally from the finest ingredients, Umbria Pizzeria will make you taste the difference, smell the love, and transport you to Italy.
La cena è pronta. Dinner's ready.
You might even begin to feel like an Italian.
Delicioso.
Umbria Pizzeria, turning taste into memories.
Up the announcers, slowly fade the music. Gonna come over to camera 2, stand by, count of 2 and 3, 2, 1. Losing the graphic, ready camera 3 and 3's up. Ready camera 4, 2, 1, track the digicart, we're up on 1. Give me the batter. Jerry, can you hear me? Jerry, can you hear me?
I had the strangest dream. North Metro TV had professional coverage of high school sports. You were there? You were there? You were there? You were not there.
North Metro TV Sports, get in the game.
Come to Ham Lake and see how good life can be. Conveniently located only 20 miles north of the Twin Cities on Highway 65, yet Ham Lake has kept its rural charm. Residents of Ham Lake enjoy 1-acre minimum lots, giving you space to live with abundant natural green spaces and recreational activities like boating, fishing, golf, disc golf, camping and playgrounds, and tons of seasonal fun all year round. Ham Lake is home to one of the top school districts with consistent high scores in standardized testing and community ratings. Ham Lake is a business-friendly city and willing to work with businesses and developers of all sizes. Whether you are just starting out or looking to grow, Ham Lake has the business opportunities you've been waiting for. Life in Ham Lake moves a little slower, and that's the way we like it. Ham Lake offers space to live, to grow, and space to relax. Come visit Ham Lake and see for yourself what you are missing. Ham Lake is convenient country living.
Begin transmission of North Metro TV Channel 15. With local professionally produced shows, Channel 15 is unlike any other station on cable TV.
With exclusive interviews and stories, North Metro TV News covers the issues that matter in the community. New episodes premiere Fridays at 6:30 p.m.
High school sports highlights and a recap of your teams, Blaine, Centennial, and Spring Lake Park. Watch Sports Den. New episodes each Wednesday live at 6 p.m.
Pierre Roddy to the 10, 5, touchdown Cougars!
Educational and informative programming focused on local events created to inform our communities on issues regarding public safety.
NMTV can also be watched anywhere in the world live, on the web, and on demand at northmetrotv.com.
A road win for the Blaine Bengals today. It was tight early, but the second half, all Bengals, they win 13-4 today, and thanks in large part to two gentlemen who are standing by with J.W. Cox.
Thanks a lot, John. Here with a couple of the victorious Blaine Bengals. We'll start with John Hickey. A great offensive game for you individually and a second half for you guys. What was the difference turning the page in the second half? Just 4 goals in the first, 3 of them yours. We'll come back to those, but what was the difference as a team for you guys?
We really had to just slow things down and move the ball a lot better than the other team.
You guys, you in particular, rather really hot over your last 4 games or so now with 12 goals individually. What's working best in your game to allow you to score that much?
Definitely working as a team and moving the ball well, moving off ball. The guys get really open.
And you got that move when you come around one of the posts. You got guys kind of sucking down to you, but you can put that foot in the ground. You have a name for that or anything? You put that foot in the ground, spin around, and you got nothing but net in front of you.
Just kind of like the rollback shot. Whatever.
It's working well for you, so keep it up. Congratulations. Blake Nastrom here with us as well. You were in net for the second half of this one. Shut them down to that one long goal. Is it a little tougher to defend some of those goals that come from 15, 20 yards out?
Yeah, it's just a little harder to read. You might have people in front of you, kind of a deal. It's just kind of all depends on who's shooting, how they're shooting, and all that. So.
Some great stick work from you, not only be able to stop the first shots, but pull down the rebound. What's the key to have that good stick work there in net?
You just got to be watching the ball at all times, kind of a deal. Just make sure you got your defense going with you and make sure you're talking to them. Just all-around effort.
5-1 now for you guys. You've seen a lot of that from back in the net. You can see what's going on in front of you guys. Lose to Maple Grove, but a good bounce back here. How's the season been in your mind? What do you guys have done best?
We're just moving the ball, playing as a team well. It's all teamwork. It's nobody's individual lately. It's just all of us working together as one. So that's what's working. We got to stick with it.
Congrats on the win, guys. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
John, back to you.
Thank you, JW. That teamwork has led to 5 wins early in the season. Today, the 5th of those victories, 13-4, the final. With that, we're going to say goodnight here as for JW Cox and our entire broadcast crew here at North Metro TV. That'll do it for me. My name's John Madden. Bengals 13, Panthers 4. You saw it all here on North Metro TV.